Hello everyone. So welcome to the discussion of May 2019 AMA, question number 4 and question number 5. In a previous video lesson, I have discussed question number 1, 2 and 3. So today I will discuss question number 4 and question number 5. I will first read the question. You know the structure of the paper. There are two parts in the paper. In part 1, there are 10 multiple choice questions. In part 2, there are 4 questions. All questions are compulsory. And today we are going to discuss question number 4. It says TAN Lanka is a well-established, profitable company considering the purchase of a machine costing 320,000. If purchased, TAN Lanka would incur annual maintenance cost of 20,000 rupees. The machine is expected to use for 3 years, and at the end of this period, the machine will be sold for 40,000 rupees. So there's a scrap value of 40,000 rupees after 3 years. Alternatively, the machine could be obtained under a 3-year lease. If it is leased, TAN Lanka will have to pay annual lease rental amounting to 100,000 per year in advance. According to the lease agreement, lessor bears the cost of insurance and maintenance during the 3-year period. In addition to this, the lease agreement also contains a clause allowing the lessee to terminate the lease at any time at his own discretion. TAN Lanka can claim capital allowance 25% on the reducing balance basis and the balancing allowance in the final year of operation. So capital allowances can be claimed at the rate of 25%. That means if it is purchased, capital allowances can be claimed at the rate of 25% per year on reducing balance basis, and in the final year, the balancing amount. The company pays tax on profits at the annual rate of 35%, and all tax payments are made 1 year in arrears. So since all tax payments are paid 1 year in arrears, even though the lifetime is 3 years, we need to take the cash flows for 4 years. TAN Lanka's after-tax cost of capital is 10%. TAN Lanka company accounting year ends on 31st of March. If the machine is purchased, payment will be made in April of the first year of operation. If lease, annual lease rentals will be paid in April of each year of operation, which means if they are leasing the machine, lease rentals are paid in April of each year, which means the first lease rental would be paid at the beginning of first year, and so on. So these are the details given. So now we'll move into the requirement. You are required to evaluate and recommend whether TAN Lanka should purchase or lease the machine. In other words, you need to evaluate and also to recommend whether the company should purchase the machine or lease the machine. So I will work out this question in a separate Excel page. Question number 4. Purchasing option. As I told you, even though the lifetime is 3 years, because of the tax payment 1 year later, we need to take a total lifetime of 4 years. So in my cash flow, I will have years starting with year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3 and year 4. So in the purchasing option, I can first put the investment. All the figures I can take in rupees thousands. No, I will just use the figures because these figures are not very large numbers. So investment, $320,000, and there's a scrap value at the end of third year, 40,000. That is a positive cash flow. Also, we are told if we purchase the machine, there's a maintenance cost of 20,000 rupees per annum. So in year 1, 2 and 3, there's a maintenance cost of 20,000 each. Right. Now about the cash flows, I can identify 2 cash flows here. I can say because of the maintenance cost, there's a tax saving. Tax saving due to maintenance cost. Maintenance cost is an expenditure. Because of the expenditure, there's a tax saving. So tax saving due to maintenance cost at the rate of 35%. So first year tax saving, we get the benefit in the second year. So for the first year maintenance cost of 20,000, we get a benefit at the rate of 35% in the second year. So this continues in year 2, 3, and 4. It's a tax saving, so it's a positive cash flow. It continues in year 2, 3, and 4. Maintenance cost is an expense, but on the expense we are saving tax, so it is a positive cash flow. So the first year benefit we get in the second year, so it continues till fourth year. Now I can go to a work in here, capital allowance calculation, because if we purchase the machine, we get the benefit of capital allowances. Year 1, year 2, year 3. I can put it like this on this way. I will say year, opening balance, capital allowance, written down value. Also tax saving on capital allowances. So I need to do this work in for 3 years, from year 1 to year 3. Opening balance in year 1 is 320,000, cost of the machine. First year capital allowance is 25% on this, 80,000. So written down value of the asset at the end of year 1, 240,000. On 80,000 rupees, which is the capital allowance in year 1, tax saving is that into 35%, 28,000. So this is year 1 tax saving. So I can continue now. Year 2 opening balance is year 1 written down value or closing balance. Year 2 capital allowances is 25% on 240,000, that is 60,000. Year 2 closing balance or written down value 180,000. Tax saving on capital allowances for year 2 would be 21,000. In year 3, opening balance is year 2 closing balance 180,000. Now when it comes to capital allowances in year 3 is the final year, so the balance amount will be given for year 3, but here you need to understand the company on this particular asset is generating a scrap value. In other words, the value of the scrap value is 40,000 rupees. So since there's a scrap value on this asset, when generating or when calculating third year capital allowances, that benefit or the scrap value has to be deducted. So basically, the balancing allowance is 180,000, but from this we need to deduct the value of the scrap value, that is 40,000, to calculate the net capital allowances. So third year net capital allowances is 140,000. There is no written down value at the end of year 3. Tax saving on capital allowances would be 35% on this, 49,000. So based on our calculation of tax savings, we can now complete the cash flow. I can say here, tax saving on capital allowances. Tax saving on capital allowances. First year tax saving we get in year 2. So first year benefit, which we are getting in year 2, I can get from this table. Then the second year benefit we are receiving in year 3. And the third year benefit we are receiving in year 4. Those are positive cash flows. Those are tax savings. So these are the complete cash flows of the purchasing option. Now I can calculate the net cash flows. Cost of capital of the company after tax cost of capital is given as 10%. So I can calculate the discount factors at 10%. Discount factors at 10%. So for year 0, for any rate, discount factor would be 1. So likewise, we can calculate the discount factors for other years. All I have to do is to change this power factor. So now I can calculate the present values. So the present value in year 0 would be negative 320,000. Likewise, I can calculate the present values for the other years, after which I can calculate the net present value. Net present value. Now, since in this question, we haven't considered any revenue, what we are getting is a NPV of cost. You can see in this cash flow, we don't have any revenue, or we haven't considered any revenue. All we have considered are the cost and also tax savings. So therefore, the NPV that we are arriving at is a NPV of cost. So I can calculate the NPV now by taking the sum of the present values. So NPV of cost in the purchasing option is negative 220,996 approximately. Negative 220,996. Negative value is because we haven't considered any revenue. So this is the NPV of cost under the purchasing option. Now we can go to the leasing option. In the leasing option also, we have the same number of years from year 0 to year 4 because of the tax payment 1 year later. So the leasing option would be straightforward. Annual lease payments at the beginning of each year. Annual lease payments. So what you need to understand is lease payments are made at the beginning of each year. So the first year lease payment is made immediately, which is 100,000. So since it is made immediately, it happens in year 0. Second year lease payment is made at the end of year 1. Third year lease payment is made at the end of year 2. So these are leasing cash flows. Annual lease payments we'll have to put like this. Those are negative cash flows at the beginning of each year. On these lease payments, the company is saving tax at the rate of 35%. So for the immediate payment, for the initial payment which happens at the beginning of year 1, the company gets the benefit in the second year. So we can say tax saving on lease payments So for the first year, lease payment of 100,000. For the first year lease payment of 100,000, the company gets a benefit of 35% tax saving in the second year. There's a 35,000 cash inflow in the second year, and it continues till the end of year 4. It continues till the end of year 4. These are only the cash flows relating to the annual lease payments and also for the tax saving on lease payments. So I will repeat that. Lease payments we pay at the beginning of each year. So the first lease payment we pay immediately, which means in year 0. second lease payment or the lease payment for the year or lease payment for year 2 we pay at the end of year 1, lease payment for year 3 we pay at the end of year 2. So for the first lease payment, we get the benefit in the second year, tax saving benefit in the second year, for the second lease payment in the third year, for the last lease payment in the final year. So these are the cash flows in the leasing option. So I can now calculate the net cash flows. There is no maintenance cost, and therefore there is no tax saving on the maintenance cost under the leasing option. These are the only two cash flows. So I can now calculate the net cash flows under the leasing option. I can put the same discount factors. Discount factors will not change. And now I can calculate the present values. Like in the purchasing option, here we have only taken lease payments without taking any revenue. So here also we end up with a NPV of cost. So I'll first calculate the present values. And then NPV of cost. NPV of cost under the leasing option is 194,426, which is lesser than the NPV of cost under the purchasing option. So we can say out of the two options, the most beneficial option for the company, or the cost saving option for the company, is the leasing option. So we can say cost saving option for the company. Cost saving option for the company is the leasing option. It is our answer to 4.1. Cost saving option for the company is the leasing option. We can now move into 4.2. So the cost saving option, we know out of the two options is the leasing option. In 4.2, the examiner is asking, discuss possible risks faced by the company if the machine is purchased on lease. So we can write the answer for 4.2 here. 4.2. We can see if the machine is purchased, the company might not be able to realize the scrap value if the project is stopped before the end of year 3. In other words, if for any reason, if the company decides to stop the project before the end of year 3, the company might not realize the scrap value of 40,000. So there is a risk because of that in the purchasing option. And also we can say under the purchasing option, maintenance cost might increase. We never know, it might increase in the latter years. In the question we are told the maintenance cost is equal in all the years, but as we know, when the machine is getting old, we might have to incur more cost on maintenance rather than in the initial year. So if we are to incur 20,000 rupees in year 1, maybe in the latter part of the machine's life, in year 2 and also in year 3, we may have to spend something more than 20,000 rupees, although the question gives us the same value across 3 years. So those are some of the risk factors in the purchasing option. So we can say under leasing option, one of the benefit is the company can terminate the lease. Under leasing option, the company can terminate the lease before year 3 if they want to terminate. Now that is one of the advantages in the leasing option. Since you are not purchasing the machine, since you are leasing the machine, if you want to terminate the project before the end of the 3rd year, you can terminate it without any compensation being paid to the lessor. Maintenance cost that also under the leasing option will have to be incurred by lessor. Maintenance cost will have to be incurred by the lessor, not by the company. So that is another advantage in the leasing option. So we can say if the machine is purchased, there's a risk the company might not be able to realize the scrap value if they want to stop the project before the end of year 3. And also there's a possibility the maintenance cost in the latter part of the machine's life might be more than 20,000 rupees. Although the question says it is a constant cost of 20,000 rupees in year 1, 2 and 3. As we know, if it is 20,000 rupees in year 1, in latter years, it can be more. It can be more expensive for maintenance. Under the leasing option, compared to the purchasing option, you can at any time terminate the agreement and you don't have to pay any compensation for the lessor. And also maintenance costs will have to be borne by the lessor, not by the company. So these are some of the advantages in the leasing option compared to the purchasing option. This is the answer to 4.2. So now we can move into 4.3. It is asking explain the difference between risk and uncertainty with respect to investment appraisal. So risk and uncertainty we can define like this. Risk is the possibility of having different outcomes with known probabilities. In other words, we say that there's a risk if we have many outcomes with known probabilities. So if you have multiple outcomes with known probabilities, there's a risk, or the risk of those outcomes we can calculate. Uncertainty, on the other hand, uncertainty is the situation where there are many alternatives of which probabilities are not known. Probabilities are not known. In other words, if you have many outcomes without knowing the probabilities, we say that there is an uncertainty. So this is the main difference between risk and uncertainty. If there are many outcomes with known probabilities, we call that as risk. If there are many outcomes without knowing the probabilities, we call that as an uncertainty. So this is the answer to 4.3. So now we can move into question number 5, last question in that paper. So question number 5, part A. ABC company manufacturing and selling canned fish and is preparing to introduce a new product into the market in the next year. ABC company carried out marketing research and is reviewing whether to launch the product at a price of 300 or 330 per unit. So there are two prices. The following information has been obtained from the market research. So there are three prices. They have done a market research on both prices and calculated probabilities, and for those probabilities different volumes. The following information is also available. Annual variable reduction cost would be 270 rupees per unit, production volume up to 10,000 units. If annual reduction exceeds 10,000, variable reduction cost per unit would fall to 250 rupees for all units produced. Estimated advertising cost would be 80,000 rupees per annum at a selling price of 300 and 70,000 rupees per annum at a selling price of 330. Estimated budgeted fixed production cost would be 40,000 rupees per annum. You are required to calculate each of the 6 possible profit outcomes which could arise for ABC company in the next year. Then in 5.2, calculate the expected value of profit for each of the 2 price options and advise ABC company on this basis the recommended price. Fine. So let's move into this question. Question number 5. So question number 5, we have two prices. Selling price, one is 300 rupees. Other one is selling price 330 rupees. So under each, we have three possible volumes. Under each, we have three possible volumes. So three volumes under the price of 300 are 13,000, 11,000, 18,000. 13,000, 11,000 and 18,000. And three prices, three volumes under the selling price of 330, 10,400, 10,400, 10,000 and 9,400. And the probability is 0.4, 0.5, 0.1. 0.4, 0.5 and 0.1. And under 330, 0.3, 0.3 and 0.4. So these are the different volumes and probabilities under the two prices. So now we can go back to the question. It says the variable cost is 270 rupees per unit for production volume up to 10,000. If the volume exceeds 10,000, variable cost will fall to 250 rupees for all units produced. So up to 10,000, it is 250. If it is more than 10,000, variable cost per unit would fall to 250 rupees for all units. So here I can say variable cost per unit. So if the volume is 13,000, it would be 250. If it is 11,000, again 250. If it is 18,000, 250. 10,400 also 250. If it is 10,000, let's see what it says. If it says if the annual reduction exceeds 10,000, so since here it is exactly 10,000, it will be 270. If it is 9,400, 270. So those are variable cost per unit. So also the question says advertising cost would be 80,000 at the selling price of 300, and at the selling price of 330, it will be 70,000. So advertising cost at the selling price of 300, it is 80,000 rupees. At the selling price of 330, 70,000 rupees. Then fixed cost is 40,000 rupees. Fixed cost is common for both prices. It will be 40,000 rupees. Now we can calculate the profitability under each price for different volumes. Okay, we can first calculate the contribution, total contribution. So in the first option, under the selling price of 300, if the volume is 13,000, we can calculate the contribution like this. 300, we know the variable cost is 250 into the volume of 13,000. So next one, when the volume is 11,000, 300 minus variable cost 250 into the volume of 11,000. When the volume is 18,000, 300 minus 250 into the volume of 18,000. Then we can do the same thing here. Now the selling price is 330. So 330 minus the variable cost 250 into the volume of 10,400. In the next one, 330, variable cost is 270 since the volume is 10,000 into the volume of 10,000. Next one, 330 minus 270 since the volume is less than 10,000 into 9,400. So these are our different contributions. Now I can calculate the profits by deducting advertising cost and fixed cost from the contribution. So contribution 650,000, advertising cost 80,000, fixed cost 40,000, profit when the volume is 13,000 at the selling price of 300 would be 530,000. So in this way I can calculate all the profits. So based on these profits, now I can calculate the expected profit. Expected profit, that will be the profit under each volume, under each selling price into the probability. So the expected profit when the volume is 13,000 and the selling price of 300 is 212,000. Multiply the profit by the probability. So I can do that for all the volumes, and thereafter I can calculate the expected profit or the total expected profit for a particular selling price. Now there are two selling prices, 300 and 330. So I can calculate total expected profit when the selling price is 300 and also when the selling price is 330. Total expected profit. Total expected profit when the selling price is 300 would be the total of expected profits for the three volumes under the selling price of 300. So total expected profit when the selling price is 300 is 505,000. I can do the same thing for 330. That will be 542,000. In other words, for the three volumes under the selling price of 330, total expected profit is 545,200. Therefore, out of the two prices, 300 and 330, based on the total expected profit, we can say the company should select selling price of 330. So we can say the company should select the selling price of 330 rupees since total expected profit is higher. Since total expected. So with this we have answered both 5.1 and 5.2. In other words, both those parts 5.1 and 5.2 we have answered through these calculations. In other words, we have calculated the expected profits for each of the volumes. This is the answer to 5.1. And based on the calculation of expected profits, we have calculated the total expected profit under each selling prices and also recommended the most suitable price, which is 330. That is the answer to 5.2. Basically, we have answered 5.1 and 5.2 through our calculation here. So we'll go back to the question now. In 5.3, it is asking compare and contrast traditional budgeting and beyond budgeting. So for this, I will go to the suggested answers given by the CMA Business School. So we can read the answer given here. Compare and contrast traditional budgeting and beyond budgeting. A comparison between traditional budgeting and beyond budgeting is shown in the below table. So I will read the answer, then I will explain. So the differences have been identified across 7 parameters. Targets and rewards. So under traditional budgeting, incremental targets, normally we set incremental targets and fixed incentives are given. In beyond budgeting, we stretch the targets, stretch goals, relative targets, and also rewards are linked to the achievement of targets. In other words, depending on your performances, you will get the rewards. In other words, if you perform well, if you achieve a particular target well, then of course you will get a higher reward than someone else. Planning and control. Under traditional budgeting, fixed annual plans, mostly variance controls. Under beyond budgeting, continuous planning, we set KPIs and also forecasts tend to be rolling. In other words, we always change the forecast. When one period is over, we prepare the forecast for next period. Resources and coordination. Under traditional budgeting, we pre-allocate resources, centralize coordination. Under beyond budgeting, dynamic coordination and also resources on demand. In other words, resources are allocated only when they are demanded or only when they are needed. Organizational culture under traditional budgeting, centralized control focusing on managerial numbers. In beyond budgeting, local controls, in other words, decentralization we talk about here. Plans focus on value creation. In other words, our main focus is on adding value to the organization than achieving numbers. Control approach, command and control. In traditional budgeting, we command achievement of targets. In other words, we have tight controls in order to achieve the set budgets. But in beyond budgeting, we empower people and also guide them to achieve the targets. Seat of authority, as I discussed earlier, in traditional budgeting, it is centralized. In beyond budgeting, it is decentralized. Performance measurement, in traditional budgeting, we have fixed targets. In beyond budgeting, we have relative targets. In other words, depending on your performances, you will get the necessary rewards. In other words, if you can achieve a particular performance more than someone else or more than another division, then of course you will get a higher reward than what the other person or other division is getting. So basically, these are the differences between traditional budgeting and beyond budgeting. This answer is adequate. So with this, we complete question number 5. So today we have discussed question number 4 and question number 5 in May 2019 AMA paper, which were the 2 questions remaining. So with this, we have concluded the entire paper, May 2019 Advanced Management Accounting paper. So if you have any further questions on areas to clarify on what we had discussed on this paper as well as on the November 2019 paper, you can channel your doubts or you can channel your queries through the CMA virtual learning platform, or you can personally WhatsApp me or email me. Thank you very much.